Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, here we are on the Natural Resource Committee, and we are spending time talking about an event that another committee is dealing with on January 6th, and we're talking about domestic cats, and yet the things that are causing problems across our country for our constituents, the high cost of energy, the high cost of groceries, that we actually can do something about in this committee, and we're doing nothing about them. And it's very disappointing to me. And I was hoping that maybe in these final 2 months that we could actually address those. And one of the things that we are charged with here in Congress, as you said earlier, you're not privy to that information. And none of us, unfortunately, are privy to the information that we're trying to get on the resolution compromise. And that is all that this body and this resolution 1378 that Representative Gosar has submitted is trying to accomplish. It's not trying to pass any legislation. It's not trying to delay any legislation. It's trying to help this body to simply look at information so that we can see what is going on that is keeping this project from moving forward. You know, if we didn't learn anything during the pandemic, what we should have learned, all of us, is that we cannot be dependent upon foreign governments, foreign adversaries to produce products for us, whether that's our medical supplies, our energy supplies, or anything else. And we find ourselves in that very spot because of the inability for us to produce domestically the things that we need. And unfortunately, those decisions are being made right in this committee. If we look at why we are right now in an investment of $70 billion, $70 billion that have been sent to Ukraine, that we have not even received an accounting of to know where the money was spent. The reason that that has taken place and transpired is because of all of the decisions that were made by the Biden administration leading up to the invasion of Russia into Ukraine. On the very first day that he took office, an executive order to rescind the permit of the Keystone XL pipeline that would have brought 850,000 barrels a day of crude oil from one of our greatest allies, Canada, of which 150,000 barrels a day would have been Montana and North Dakota crude oil. That one decision not only eliminated all that energy from our country, but it eliminated $60 to $80 million a year from the tax revenue of Montana, going through some of the poorest counties in the state, which would have funded schools, it would have funded hospitals, it would have funded roadways, went out the window. And that was a sign of weakness that people around the world and our adversaries noticed. They took notice of. And then the sanctions were lifted from Nord Stream 2 to empower Russia, to sell their energy, to fuel, to fund their military machine. That was another big mistake. We saw the just failed withdrawal from Afghanistan. Another big mistake. When you continue to show signs of weakness, it empowers our adversaries. It does not go unnoticed. And that is why we're dealing with that problem right now. And all this committee is asking is to start turning back and making decisions that show that we strengthen our own national security, that we recognize we are going to take control of these things. And instead of empowering these people across the globe, we want to keep it right here domestically. And all this resolution does is say, give us the information, shine a light on the transactions and the communications that were taking place. With that, I will absolutely support this resolution, and I hope that my colleagues will do the same. I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Anyone else? Sir, recognized.
Thank you, Chair. And I just wanted to add, and I won't belabor a lot of things, I just want to add one really important point. I think we're at a very important point of our country right now. with an opportunity to look forward and I believe accomplish what the majority of us want to accomplish. We want to be able to embrace more renewable technology, and doing so is going to require more American trust and trust in the American resources and trust in American industry. I support this resolution of inquiry. I believe it will bring much needed transparency to the Biden administration's misguided decision to shut down the Resolution Copper project. The Keystone Pipeline was mentioned. You've got the Duluth in Minnesota. This is something that's been a huge eye opener for me as I've served in this role. I was not in the mining industry in any way, shape, or form prior to my time in Congress, and as I was going out to meet folks in my district, like every single meeting that I had, the first people they put me in touch with was their environmental team. Every single time I went out to any, and it particularly is in the eastern part of my state. And I was really coming into this bold and confident about how much effort they were putting into making sure that they weren't only just adhering to standards, but they were exceeding them. So they stayed on top of this issue. And I just have a perspective on how important it is for us as lawmakers to trust them and to hold them accountable, but to continue to trust them. But to just arbitrarily use an executive order to just sort of cancel all this kind of stuff. Some of the data I have here, that between 2020 and 2021, our nation's copper reliance on foreign sources increased from 37 to 45%. That's 8% that we have to put too much trust into China. And I want to put that back into America. That is the message. That is what I'm fighting for. The bill that I have on energy production transparency, it doesn't say we need to change anything with our environmental reviews. It actually says once the environmental reviews are done, we just need transparency to know what is going on with the permitting and leasing regulation that exists. And I'm going to continue to work towards that. We've got our power company in Utah. I just had him come out and speak to a bipartisan group of people on the work that they're doing to build and continue to increase their portfolio with renewables. And they're at a point where, with the NEPA that exists right now and the NEPA regulations, they're not able to even to truly take advantage of all of the additional renewable capabilities that we do have. This is something we've got to fix. The land exchange required for this project, the Resolution Copper project, was given a green light by Congress and the previous administration as a critically important step in enhancing our nation's mineral supply. And if we are truly interested in pursuing green energy goals for any kinds, we have to have copper. It's a key ingredient for solar, thermal, wind, everything. And we need to build that and trust ourselves before allowing any of that to be ceded to our adversaries. Instead of reporting this resolution unfavorably, I urge my colleagues to support HRES 1378, and I yield back. Thank you, Chair.
Gentleman yields. Anyone else? So, recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief, but I do want to echo what my colleague from Utah just said, and I think part of the dialogue we're not really having. We're talking about green energy and those types of things, but in New Mexico, we have 2 national labs and a very large Department of Defense footprint. And after visiting, touring them, I think one of the elements we're also not discussing enough is the national defense piece on this. And this is so vital in terms of development and manufacturing for critical defense infrastructure and weaponry. And I love what my colleague said. We have to figure out a way as Americans to trust one another, trust that we can be mining these natural resources, or we can be utilizing these natural resources in ways that will amplify, whether it's Department of Defense or the green energy platform, whatever it is. But I think we can all agree that we do want a safe environment. We do want clean air. We do want to do what's right for our country. But I think that we sometimes move away from the one thing I think we can all agree on. We want to live in a nation that is very safe. And I think being reliant on adversarial nations for some of these elements and these natural resources we have here is putting ourselves in a more compromising position. So I agree. I hope that we will get this resolution passed. I think we do deserve to have for the American people the information that will help us make a good decision, but we can't discount the importance of the Department of Defense piece. And I can assure you, we are way behind the 8 ball when it comes to national defense and weaponry and infrastructure when it comes to our military operations. And so we at least owe the conversation to go a little bit that direction so that we can stand strong with our American soldiers, our service members, and our entire platform in terms of national safety. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and with that, I yield back.